The girl no one wanted. The desert sun was burning hot over the slave market on planet Zarnok 3. People shouted, traded, and laughed. Chains clinked. Dust filled the air. In the center of the market, a cage opened with a loud metal clang. An alien woman was pushed out roughly. She stumbled and fell face first into the dirt. Her skin was pale blue, her body weak, covered in bruises. Her clothes were torn. Her hair hung in dirty ropes around her face. Her wrists and ankles were bleeding from tight iron chains. She looked like she couldn't even stand without help. The slaver laughed. "1 credit," he shouted. "That's all, 1 credit and she's yours." People laughed louder. "She's not even worth that," someone yelled. "Look at her bones. Is she still alive?" Another voice mocked. The woman kept her head down. She did not cry. She had no tears left. She had been beaten, starved, and used for labor in the deep mines. Now they thought she was useless. The slaver shook her by the arm. "Come on, someone. Take her. 1 credit. That's less than a meal." Still, no one stepped forward. But then, from the crowd, a quiet man moved. He wore an old coat and boots, covered in dust. His face was human, but his eyes were sharp like a blade. He didn't speak. He just looked at the alien woman lying in the dirt like a broken thing. The slaver laughed again. "You there? You want this trash?" The man nodded. People laughed even harder. "He's mad. Wasting a coin on a dying slave?" But the human reached into his coat pocket and pulled out 1 silver credit. He dropped it in the slaver's hand without a word. The slaver was shocked. "Really? You want her?" Still, the man said nothing. He stepped forward and knelt beside the alien girl. She flinched. "Don't hurt me," she whispered in a broken voice. But instead of hitting her, the human gently reached out. His hand was rough but warm. He touched her shoulder. "I won't hurt you," he said softly. She looked at him with wide eyes. No one had said those words to her in years. He slid his arms under her carefully and lifted her like she was fragile glass. Her body was light, too thin from hunger. The crowd watched in silence now. The laughter had faded. Something about the way he carried her, like she was important, like she mattered. He walked away from the market without another word. The slaver shook his head. Humans, always strange. The human walked for miles through dry land, holding the alien woman in his arms. She didn't speak. She didn't fight. She just held on to the warmth of his chest and listened to his heartbeat. Finally, they reached a small hidden hut made of stone and metal. He pushed the door open with his foot and laid her down gently on a bed covered in blankets. He brought water to her lips. She drank slowly. Then he gave her a warm bowl of stew. She stared at it, unsure. "It's not poisoned," he said with a small smile. "Eat." She took a bite, her eyes filled with tears, but not from pain. He sat beside the fire. He didn't ask her name. He didn't ask for anything. He just said, "Rest." She curled under the blanket. For the first time in many years, she felt safe. But in her mind, one question burned. Why would a human spend his last coin on her? The wind howled outside the stone hut. Inside, the fire crackled softly. The alien woman lay still, her arms curled close to her chest like a child. Her eyes were open, watching the ceiling, unsure if this was a dream or a new kind of trap. The human man sat nearby. He had not asked for her name. He had not touched her since laying her down on the bed. He was fixing a broken kettle, quietly humming an old earth tune. She tried to sit up. Her body ached, but she managed. Her voice was hoarse. "Why, did you buy me?" He looked up. "Because you were in chains," he said simply. "That's not a reason," she whispered. He stood and walked over. For a moment she tensed. Her body remembered beatings, shouts, cruel hands. But he only held up a small tool. "I need to break your shackles, may I?" She stared, then gave a small, slow nod. He knelt by the bed. With great care, he examined the chains on her ankles and wrists. The metal was old, full of rust and dried blood. Each shackle had a cruel lock, but he didn't ask for a key. From his bag, he took out a tiny flame cutter. "This might burn a little," he said. "I've felt worse," she replied. He smiled faintly. "You won't feel worse here." The cutter hissed to life. Sparks flew as he sliced through the metal. The sound was sharp and the heat stung, but she didn't flinch. She only stared at his hands, rough from work, but steady. One by one, the chains fell off, hitting the floor. With a heavy clang, she looked down at her freed wrists. Her skin was bruised, but now uncovered. She touched them gently, still unsure if this was real. "No one ever," she began. Her voice broke. The man stood. "No one should live like that," he said. "Not even enemies. You're not my enemy." He brought her a small cloth and some healing salve. "This will help with the wounds." She didn't move. She just looked at him, eyes blinking slow. "What's your name?" she asked. "Cole," he answered. She repeated it softly. "Cole." He looked back at her. "And you?" She hesitated, then said, "Girala." "Girala," he said, testing the name like a secret. "Rest now. Tomorrow, you'll walk again." She shook her head. "I can't. My legs." "The mines." "You will," he said firmly. "But not today." That night, Girala couldn't sleep. Her body was free, but her mind was chained by memories. The darkness of the mines. The sound of screaming. The cold touch of collars and kicks. She quietly rose from the bed and limped toward the door. Outside, the moonlight painted the desert in silver. Wind blew sand in soft waves. She stood under the stars, her arms wrapped around herself. She wanted to believe she was free, but how could she? Freedom never lasted. Suddenly, a soft blanket dropped over her shoulders. She turned. Cole stood behind her. "You should be sleeping," he said. "I thought about running," she whispered. "I know. You weren't going to stop me?" "No." "Why?" "Because real freedom means you choose where to go." Her throat tightened. No one had ever said something like that to her. "I don't understand you," she said. "You don't have to," Cole replied. "You only need to understand yourself." She looked up at the stars. "I used to dream about being out here, under the open sky. In the mines, we couldn't even see the sun. You're not in the mines now." She turned to face him. "Do you think someone like me can live again?" Cole didn't answer with words. He took a step forward, reached out slowly, and gently touched her hand. "You're alive now," he said. "That's the beginning." As dawn came, Girala sat beside the fire while Cole cooked something that smelled strange, but warm. She felt weak but not broken. She still didn't know why this man had saved her. But one thing was clear: for the first time in years, the chains were gone, not just from her body, but maybe, just maybe, from her heart too. The next morning, the sky turned dark. Thick black clouds rolled in fast over the dry land, and a strange coldness filled the air. Cole looked up and frowned. "Storm's coming." Girala sat by the fire, holding a warm cup between her hands. Her legs still hurt, but she had managed to stand, just for a few seconds. "Is it bad?" she asked, her voice stronger now. Cole nodded. "Dust storm. Not normal. Could be a long one." He quickly packed some supplies, water, food, a blanket, and helped her into a thick coat. "We're going to the cave," he said. Girala blinked. "Cave?" He pointed toward the hills. "Safer than the hut. Wind can tear the roof off." She didn't ask questions. She just nodded. Cole helped her walk, step by slow step. Her legs shook, but she kept moving. Her arm around his shoulder, her bare feet stumbling across the rocky path. As they climbed higher, wind began to howl. The first wave of dust hit like sandpaper on skin. Girala coughed and buried her face into Cole's coat. "Almost there," he said. A few minutes later, they reached it, a wide opening in the rocks, hidden behind dry vines and old stone. Cole pulled the covering aside and guided her in. Inside the cave, it was quiet and dry. The air was cool and the stone walls blocked the noise. There was a small space deeper inside with old bedding, stored food, and candles. "This was your hiding place?" she asked. He nodded. "I found it years ago when I was working in the mines. Used to come here when I needed peace." Girala looked around amazed. "It feels safe." Cole smiled faintly. "It is, for now." As the storm raged outside, the cave became their little world. Cole lit a small fire in a stone pit and handed her a blanket. Girala sat quietly, staring at the flickering light. It made shadows dance on the walls like ghosts. She broke the silence. "You could have left me." "I didn't want to," he said. "Why?" "I was nothing. Just a broken slave." Cole paused, then spoke gently. "You weren't nothing to me." Her eyes shimmered in the firelight. She looked away. "There were others in the mines," she whispered. "They screamed in the night, begged for water. No one came." Cole listened. "I used to sing to myself, just to remember I was alive." Her voice trembled. "Sometimes I forgot the sound of my own name." Cole leaned closer. "You're not in the mines anymore," she nodded. "But the mines are still in me." Later, as thunder echoed outside, she woke up from a nightmare. Sweat ran down her neck. She had screamed, but not loud enough to wake Cole. She saw him sleeping, sitting against the wall, arms crossed. She stood, legs shaking, and walked deeper into the cave. Her bare feet touched something soft. There, half buried in the rocks, was a small bundle of cloth. She bent down and pulled it free. It was a child's blanket, faded, old. Girala stared at it, heart pounding. A name was stitched in a strange, alien script. She turned to Cole. "This cave was someone else's?" He opened his eyes slowly. "Yes." "Who?" "My daughter," he said quietly. Girala froze. "She died," he added. "Long ago. I used to bring her here to hide when warships flew overhead. She loved the stars." Girala swallowed hard. "I'm sorry." Cole nodded, eyes full of old pain. "You're the first one I've brought back here since then." They sat in silence. The fire crackled softly. Outside, the storm roared like a monster. Girala hugged the child's blanket. "She was lucky to have you. And now," he said, "so are you." That night she didn't dream of chains. She dreamed of stars and of a girl's laughter echoing in a cave. For the first time, Girala began to believe. She could heal. The storm ended. By morning, the sky was quiet again, but the ground outside the cave was covered in red sand and broken branches. Everything looked still. Too still. Girala stood at the edge of the cave, her bare feet cold on the stone. Cole had gone down to check the hut. He told her to wait, but she didn't. She didn't trust this peace. It felt like a trick, like something was waiting to snap. Girala looked over her shoulder. The cave was dark behind her. Warm, safe. But that safety scared her. No one had ever helped her without asking for something in return, so she stepped out. Her legs were stronger now. She had eaten, slept, and healed a little. Maybe she could run. Maybe she could find somewhere far, somewhere quiet, where she wouldn't be someone's slave or someone's project. She walked slowly at first, then faster. Her body ached, but she pushed it. "Don't look back," she told herself. "Don't fall." But 5 steps down the rocky slope, her ankle twisted. She cried out and fell. Her knees hit the ground hard. Her hands scraped against sharp rock. Dust filled her mouth as she gasped. She tried to get up, but her body refused. Then she heard the footsteps, not loud, calm, steady. Cole. He didn't shout. He didn't ask what she was doing. He just came closer. crouched beside her and placed his coat gently over her back. "I told you not to go alone," he said. She didn't speak. He looked at her bleeding hands. "Are you hurt?" Jarala bit her lip. "Why didn't you stop me?" "I could've," Cole said, his voice quiet. "But I wanted to see if you still believed you had to run." She lowered her head. "I wasn't running from you," she whispered. "I was running from hope." Cole waited. "You don't understand," she said. "When you've been hurt over and over, kindness feels like a lie." "I do understand," he replied. "That's why I didn't pull you back, but now let me help you stand." He offered his hand. She stared at it for a long moment. Then, slowly, she took it. Back inside the cave, Cole cleaned her wounds. His touch was careful. He didn't ask questions. He didn't blame her. Jarala watched the fire dance between them. "Do you think I'm weak?" she asked. "No," he said. "I think you're learning how to be strong again." She looked into the flames. "What if I never learn?" "Then I'll wait," he said. Her eyes widened. "Why?" "Because someone once waited for me." Later that night, she found a piece of old metal and began sharpening it with a stone. Cole looked over. "What's that?" "My reminder," she said. "Of what?" "That if I ever go back to the mines, I won't go helpless." Cole nodded. "Then I'll teach you more than just how to survive." She raised a brow. "Like what?" "How to fight," he said. Jarala smiled, a small, crooked smile, but real. "Deal." That night, she didn't try to run again. Instead, she lay under the blanket, staring at the stars through the cracks in the cave ceiling. Maybe she didn't have to escape anymore. Maybe this time, she had been found. Jarala slept through the night without waking up from fear. No screams, no cold hands, just quiet. In the morning, sunlight peeked into the cave, soft and golden. She opened her eyes slowly. Her body still ached, but something inside her felt lighter. Cole was already awake, boiling water and crushing some herbs in a small bowl. He turned when he saw her sit up. "Morning," she gave a quiet nod. "Smells sharp." "Medicine," he said. "For pain." Jarala chuckled faintly. "You treat pain like it's a wound that can be wiped away." Cole stirred the herbs. "Some pain needs time. Some just needs someone who cares." She blinked at him. "Do you always talk like this?" He grinned. "Only before breakfast." Later that day, the wind died completely. Cole stepped out to check the old path to the mines. He said he wanted to gather something he had hidden long ago. Jarala stayed in the cave, cleaning her hands and trying to stretch her legs. She found a quiet corner with a cracked mirror. For the first time, she looked at herself properly. Her skin was pale, thin but healing. The bruises were fading. Her hair, once tangled, fell gently over her shoulder now. She turned, trying to examine the dark lines across her back. That's when she saw it. A strange shape, a faded design marked into her skin. It wasn't dirt. It wasn't a scar. It was a tattoo. Delicate, intricate, glowing faintly under the light. Her fingers touched it slowly, tracing the curves. She had never seen it before. In the mines, mirrors were forbidden. Her back was always covered with rags or blood. But now she saw what Cole hadn't mentioned yet. She wasn't just a slave. She had once been something more. When Cole returned, he noticed the silence. Jarala sat by the fire, her back turned to him, her hand clutching her shoulder. "I saw it," she said. He sat beside her. "I wondered when you would." "Why didn't you say anything?" Cole's voice was soft. "Because I didn't want to treat you like a mystery. You're a person first, not a story." She was quiet for a moment. "This mark," she said, slowly, "is from my mother's bloodline. Only royal children received it before their first cycle." "You were royalty?" Cole asked. Jarala nodded, eyes distant. A long time ago, before the war came, before our palace fell. I was just a girl then. They said I vanished, but really, I was taken. Cole didn't speak. He waited. Shirala's voice trembled. I was worth 1,000 credits once, then 100, then 10, then 1. She looked up. Do you know what it's like to feel your value go down until even beasts are treated better? Cole met her gaze. You were never just a price tag to me. Tears welled in her eyes. Then why me, Cole? Why did you choose me? In that market, why not walk away? He reached over, gently placing his hand over hers. Because when I saw you, I didn't see a slave. I saw someone who was still fighting inside, even if her body had given up. That night, Shirala stared at the fire again. But this time, she didn't feel small. She felt dangerous. A mark like hers would be noticed. If word spread, others might come. People from her past, people who wanted her dead before she remembered who she really was. Cole, she said suddenly. Yes? If they come for me, I don't want to hide. He looked at her, serious. Then we won't, he said. We'll stand. From that night forward, she stopped calling herself a slave in her mind. She was Shirala of the royal House of Varnath, and someone was going to regret not finishing the job when they sold her for 1 credit. They came at night. No sound, no warning, just the sudden flash of movement in the darkness beyond the cave. Cole had just returned with fresh water from the stream. Shirala was inside, sitting by the fire, sharpening the metal shard he gave her days ago. She heard a strange sound, like breathing, but not from Cole. Something was outside. She stood slowly. Her fingers tightened on the shard. Then Cole rushed in, fast and alert. Pack your things, he said in a low voice. They found us. Shirala didn't ask how. She didn't need to. The way his eyes stayed on the mouth of the cave told her everything. How many? She whispered. 4. Maybe 5. One has a tracker dog. She froze. Tracker dogs were trained to smell blood. They could follow wounded prey through rock, sand, even space. She had seen them before, in the mines. They never stopped. She grabbed the small pouch of herbs, wrapped the shard in cloth, and stood up. I'm ready. Cole gave her a look, half proud, half pained. We won't run, he said. Not yet. Let me handle this. Minutes later, shadows moved outside the cave. One voice spoke in a language Shirala knew all too well, the harsh tongue of slavers. She's in there. I smell her. Another voice laughed. Worthless blue rat. What do they want her for now? Orders from above. Royal blood, they said. Said she might know something. Shirala flinched. Royal blood. That meant her secret was out. Someone had seen her mark. Someone remembered who she was. The voice continued. Kill the human. Bring the girl in alive, or mostly alive. Cole stepped into the mouth of the cave with a metal pipe in his hand and a calm expression on his face. You've come far to make a mistake, he said. The slavers paused. Move aside, human, one hissed. She's not your business. Cole smiled coldly. She is now. They lunged. The fight was fast, brutal. Shirala crouched in the dark, listening to grunts, yells, metal hitting bone. She heard Cole cry out once, then silence. For a moment, she feared the worst. Then something rolled into the cave. A body, a slaver, unmoving. Behind it, Cole limped inside, bleeding from a cut above his eye, holding a broken weapon, but standing tall. We have to go, he said, panting. More could be coming. Shirala moved to help him, but he shook his head. I'm fine. You have to stay hidden. They're not after me. No, she said. I'm not hiding anymore. He stared at her. I told you, she said firmly. If they want to come for me, then let them. Cole grinned through the blood. Then we fight together. They didn't sleep that night. They sealed the cave with rocks and laid simple traps in the path. Shirala sharpened more weapons from scrap. Cole rewrapped his wound with cloth soaked in herbs. By morning, they stood side by side in the sun, watching the horizon. Jarala's eyes burned, not from fear but from something fierce. "I'm not weak anymore," she whispered. "You never were," Cole replied. "You just forgot." She turned to him. "Why are they so scared of me, Cole?" "Because you survived." Later that day, they found a symbol carved onto a nearby stone, 3 jagged lines, the mark of a hunter's crew, a message. They would return, but this time, she would be ready. The hunted girl in chains was gone. In her place stood someone else, not a princess, not a slave, but a survivor, holding a blade, standing beside a human who fought like he had nothing left to lose. And when the hunters returned, they would meet something far more dangerous than they expected. Night fell again, but this time it was not silent. Flames burned at the edge of the desert. Smoke rose in dark columns. The slavers had returned, this time with a full squad. They came with rifles, shock nets, hunting beasts, and orders to retrieve the marked one. Inside the cave, Cole stood calmly, loading the last of his traps. His coat was ripped. His arm was still bandaged, but his eyes were sharp. Jarala was beside him, no longer weak, no longer afraid. She had wrapped her arms and legs in leather scraps. Her old chains were melted down, reforged into knives. One she held now, curved, jagged, burning hot at the hilt. She was ready. The first 2 slavers triggered the wire traps, snapped legs, screams, smoke bombs exploded, blinding the rest. Then Jarala moved. She slipped through the shadows like a ghost, the firelight bouncing off her blue skin. Her blade struck fast. Not to kill, just to disarm, to send a message. She wasn't prey anymore. Cole fought at her side, his back to hers. Every step they took was practiced. They didn't need words now. They understood each other. "A slaver," Captain shouted. "She's just a girl, take her." Jarala turned. "I was a girl," she said, voice steady. "Now I'm everything you fear." She threw her blade straight into the man's chest. The fight ended as the sun began to rise. Bodies lay still in the dust. Only 2 remained standing, Jarala, blood on her cheek but unbroken, and Cole, breathing heavy but still solid like stone. Around them, the desert was quiet again. Jarala dropped to her knees, not from pain but from something deeper. Her hands trembled, not with fear but with release. The war inside her heart was over. Cole walked to her, kneeled, and placed a hand on her shoulder. "It's done," he said. She nodded, then turned her hand, showing the broken piece of her old wrist shackle, the final chain she had kept hidden. "I kept this," she said softly, "because I thought I still belonged to it." Then, she tossed it into the fire. The metal sizzled, melted, gone. They sat beside the flames. No more running, no more hiding. Jarala leaned her head on Cole's shoulder. "I don't know what comes next," she whispered. "We build something new," he said. She looked up at him. "With me?" "With you," he nodded. "You're free now, but you're not alone." She smiled, truly smiled, for the first time in years. Weeks passed. Together, they rebuilt the cave, planted crops near the stream, strengthened the old hut. Travelers sometimes passed through and heard rumors of a blue-skinned warrior with fire in her eyes, and a quiet human who fought with her like they shared one soul. Some said she was a ghost from a fallen palace. Others said she was a queen in hiding, but only one thing was true. She had been sold for 1 credit. Now no coin in the galaxy could buy her. The end.